If you knew you were enough, what would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette Biernan. Hello, it's your host, Suzette Biernan, or as today's guest calls me, her forever Susan. Thank you for tuning into the Enough Factor podcast. If this is your first time, a hearty, heartfelt welcome. I trust that you'll hear something that'll make you want to subscribe, put us on your playlist, and binge listen. It's season 2, and I am beyond excited to offer you content that wakes you up to who you are, whose you are, and why you are. To help me is the business plug, Linda Murray Bullard. She is a Renaissance force of nature in a 60-year-old package and ain't stopping for nothing. Let me tell you, if you want to go from enough to more than enough, this lady doesn't just talk it. She doesn't even just walk it, she runs it. Shall I say more? I shall. Linda is an award-winning speaker and has taught classes for the Bright Bridge Women's Center, a partner of the Small Business Administration, the City of Chattanooga, Steve Harvey World Group, and Launch CHA. She is an international keynote speaker, making presentations in Bridgetown, Barbados, and in Douala, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Cameroon in Africa. She was nominated for 2020 Black Excellence Chattanooga's Community Award. She has been featured on ABC, NBC, and CBS affiliates, as well as several local and national radio shows, such as Phoenix Woman and World Staffing in London, England. She was featured in print in the Edge Business Magazine, Huffington Post, Prevention Magazine, American Express Open Forum, and Nationwide. Linda's TED Talk was entitled The Power of Choice. Her self-published autobiography, The Well Ran Dry, Memoirs of a Motherless Child, was accepted by the Library of Congress and gifted to the Obamas in 2013. With that, I am proud to welcome Linda Murray Bullard to the Enough Factor podcast. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you. All of those accolades. I feel like now I have to really perform.
Girl, I was reading your bio. I already think you are the most wonderful thing since sliced bread. And you are my BFF in my head. I got that from you. But when I read your bio, I'm like, oh my goodness. Linda has done so many wonderful, wonderful things. And I was just like, I was blown away in one sense. But in the other sense, because I've been around you, it was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because that's Linda all day long. So I just feel like it's such a privilege and an honor to just share this space with you. I know we're going to create magic together. You know?
Oh, wow. I love that. I love your descriptions. I actually read on the census report that my great-grandparents, Miranda and Sedge Taylor, came out of slavery in Plaquemines, Louisiana, and became business and property owners. They are my fire. I am their legacy.
Oh, what a legacy. What a rich legacy.
My mom's people, which really explains her, they were not warriors. They were craftsmen. In fact, today they're known as the mask-making people. And so they were creators. And that explains why I have to create something. I feel the urges, even though for a long time I didn't think I was creative at all. But learning about her people explains why I have this unique talent of being a creative.
And for those that are listening, Linda and I both turned 60 in the same month.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the things that maybe my energy picked up about you before I even had a chance to officially meet you. Because
Mm-hmm.
listeners, Linda and I met online. But
Yeah.
I had to tell you, Linda, when I saw your face pop up, we were on a Zoom group meeting. When I saw your face pop up and your energy, there was something so magnetic about you that I was immediately drawn to you. And I knew when
Mm.
I was going to Atlanta in the next month, you were one of the people that I just had to see.
And
I
see,
just,
I felt that was mutual because I felt the same way about you. I was thinking, because I've been out here for 7 years doing what I do, almost 7 years. And while there are some very energetic, very youthful young people out here, like in their 30s and 20s and 40s, there were not any that I had laid eyes on until you. There were not any people in my age group. And so I always felt like the grandmother or the motherly type nurturing these younger people, but I didn't have a counterpart that was my age. And so I was ecstatic when you said, "Oh yeah, I'm giving my event for my 60th birthday." I'm like, "Girl, yes, yes,
it's like that's how we roll. Don't count us out, honey.
absolutely."
Don't. And do you feel younger? I actually, when I turned 60, I actually felt younger, and I didn't expect that.
I've been feeling younger for quite some time, which is odd because my older son is 45. I had him in my youth. And so he's the one that pushes me forward. He's like, "Mother, you have to move. You can't stay my age. You have to go."
What I love is that at our age, there's still that drive for
Hmm.
more. There's still that drive to pursue our dreams. One of the things that I see very often when I hear people who are striving to reach their dreams, to run down the entrepreneurial path, to build businesses, to make a difference, there's that little bit of like they kind of need permission a little bit. Have you
Mm,
picked up on
mm,
that? That there's kind of
mm.
almost like I kind of I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should do it this way. I don't know if I can do it. But it's almost when we come along, it's like,
Exactly. And the thing about it, so if you look at my logo, there's a light bulb, and that's because a part of my purpose and a part of my addiction is to see that light bulb go off when I have held their potential long enough for them to see it.
when I've held their potential long, Linda, you're gonna make me throw something right here in my house. Long enough for them to see it, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I think with growth has come that where the universal energy that we call God has held our potential
Thank you, Lord.
long enough for us to see it.
Absolutely, because even on this day here, I had to say farewell to somebody I've been working with for a very long time. And it just comes to a point where God tells you, "I'm ready for you to be better, bigger. I'm ready to enlarge your territory." And
Mhm.
so I have to make room for that because my calendar was stocked up. And so he's doing a new thing. And in order for him to do that new thing, then I must be prepared. I hung out with Steve Harvey and his group for 4 years. And one thing he talked about him having a car in his yard on blocks and him telling his mother that he wanted a new car and she would always direct him to the car in the yard. And Steve said he would go in there. He said, "I'd be so excited because I was saving my money and I was going to buy this car that I wanted. And my mom would always refer me back to the car in the yard." He said, "My mother was a Sunday school teacher." He said, "So I know there was a lesson in there somewhere, but I didn't want to hear it. I just wanted her to say, 'Yeah, you're doing a good thing buying your own car.'" He said, "But she never would." And then he said, "I finally got tired of hearing her say that. And I asked her, why do you keep saying that every time I tell you I'm getting a new car? And she said, the whole thing you ask, you believe, and then you have to make room to see. He had no more room because his room was being held up by something that simply wasn't working. And so he said immediately he went out and he cleaned the spot and got rid of that car. And in a few weeks, he had the car that he wanted. It taught him that even we can ask and we can believe that God will give it to us. But if we don't make room for it, that's why I had to clear my calendar, because I want to make room for it. He's getting ready to do a marvelous thing, and I have to be present. And in order for me to be present, I have to get away from those things that are no longer working.
That's so true. I listened to Redefining Wealth podcast, which is, of course, is my favorite podcast.
Absolutely.
And Dr. George Fraser was on it. And what he said about you're the average of the top 5 people that you hang with. And when I first thought about that, I started thinking about the physical top 5 people. But I started thinking about, wait a minute, no. The top people I hang with are the people that are in my ear. It's not just the physical, because, of course, your son and your daughter, your grandchildren, and all of that. But I started thinking about, but what people have your ear? And one of the cars that I had to get out of my garage was constantly being in a situation where I was being needed.
Yeah.
I said, I had to start saying, wait a minute, hold on. That's not my purpose. My purpose is not to be needed. My purpose is to inspire people to see that they are their own rescue.
Absolutely, because they have to be a part of their own rescue.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. So, and so what we do sometimes is we teach people to need us. Like, we set that up. And that's what I've been guilty of, is I've taught people to need me. And so in order for me to go to this new season on this new level, I must clear my plate, and I must give people back their own rescue team. They have to be a part of it. They have to go get it for themselves, because I'm going to be busy.
Yeah. Oh, girl.
Everyone is not your customer, because your customers understand the value you bring, and they're willing to pay for it because they understand it. And so when you're talking about top quality products, top quality services, then you understand what you're bringing to the table. What you have to do is get comfortable with eating at that table alone, if that's it, because your price is your price, and you stop negotiating your worth. Your worth is your worth. Your value is your value. And so to get under the mindset of, I have to accept everyone who comes to me in order for me to have money, is to say that God is limited and I should accept everything because he can't do what he said he's going to do. If he gave you that dream, if he gave you that inspiration, he is able to exceed abundantly anything you have ever thought, asked, or dreamed for. He's able to do it, but we don't trust him enough to understand that he can change our businesses in a blink, like quicker than a blink. And we fall prey to those people who want to keep us in the budget realm, in the bargaining realm, and just be comfortable in knowing that you're not for everyone. But for those who are ready to work with you, people do whatever they want. They buy whatever they want. I mean, people pay $300 and $400 for Beyonce tickets. And I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that. But that just goes to show you that people will pay for what they want.
Yes.
And so if they are not wanting your solution, then they're okay with staying in their problem. You know, because I've seen people, and I've heard other business owners say, well, they will try to get me to go down on my price. And when I don't, they go get someone who's even higher than I am. You know, it's just those people are not yours. And those bargain hunters and those people who like to bargain shop and don't realize the quality that you bring, let them be. Because no is a full sentence with a period,
With a
or
period.
exclamation point. It's still a full sentence. People figure if they're talking to the owner of the company, then they can strike a deal.
Thing that people strive with the most, entrepreneurs and business owners, is pricing.
Hmm.
And that's why I think
Yeah.
it's such a great conversation for us to have. How do you decide with your product? How do you land in that pocket of this price feels right to me and I can own it?
So starting with the students I have, I teach them about how to look in the industry. What does the industry say about the price? And I teach them do not cut your price. Because first of all, when people go in business, the first thing they do is say, I'm going to go in cheaper and take all that person's customers. And that only works for about a month. Because then you get your bills and you realize, oh, well, that is the real price. So, and then by this time you ran off all your customers. But what I teach them is there's a formula to pricing, and it's based on the cost of goods sold, it's based on a markup, and it's based on what you want for profit. Now, those things go into it. However, when you bring value, like when in coaching is very different because we don't have a physical product, but we do have a tangible product because what we're doing is changing lives. And so rather than say, how much does it cost? I am teaching customers to say, what will I get out of it? Because at the end of the day, you know, when you look at a price, I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and he talked about if I tell you my price is $10,000, that sounds like a mighty, mighty big price to most people. But if I tell you my price is 10,000 and is valued at 100,000, then 10,000 becomes a bargain. It's all relative. It's all relative to what you're presenting. If you're giving me $100,000 worth of value for $10,000, then it doesn't sound like it's a big price at all. In fact, it sounds like I should have jumped on it yesterday. So it's adding value to your price and understanding what your cost of goods are and understanding what markups are. It's the whole formula to get to the pricing. And so it's not my students. That's why I post a few days ago, I posted my students are not overcharging. You just can't afford them because I know my students have done the work to come up with the correct price. So whatever price they have, that's the price it is because they've already stacked value on top of that price.
Mm. And I know another thing too that I would love for you to speak to is mindset.
Ah, that's where it all starts, right? Mindset is critical. The majority of the people who I teach, who I've taught these past 6 years, have been, for the most part, people who may or may not have finished high school, who are used to a teacher or an authoritative figure saying, hey, this needs to be done. Hey, that's what needs to be done. And they don't have the initiative to see the problem and address it. They are waiting for someone to tell them. When you look at across the country, not just here in Tennessee where I am, but you look across the country and startups fold in 3 to 5 years at the rate of 50 to 90%. And it's not that they have bad products, because even bad products sell, right? We get cigarettes, we get beer, we get all kind of products. I mean, and that's all subjective. But the thing about that is this, you can even have a bad product in your bad product. I mean, we had a little girl sell a pet rock, you can have and made millions off a rock, right? And so you can have a bad product, but the thing about it is you have to understand that the mindset has to be right, because coming from an employee stance to an employer stance, it calls for a mindset shift. The whole decision making is so different. because before somebody told you everything you needed to do in order to fulfill that job. In entrepreneur world, there you are the decision makers. I tell my students all the time, they'll say, well, Miss Linda, I need to know how to hire the best person. And I'm like, that's your call. And so you have to do your due diligence and study up on that. And by studying up on that, then you're able to make those decisions. In fact, because of that, I had to go in and create an executive leadership course that I send people to because it helps them to make that shift. Because you really need to understand that is a total different mindset. In fact, every level there's a mindset change, right? Because
Oh
you
God,
cannot
yes.
bring those old keys to open your new doors. It won't happen. You have to elevate your thinking with each level that you go up. What got you at level 1 will not serve you at level 6.
It's true. It's so true.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is one of the things I've taught with 2 very good curriculums for business. And then both of them, they start out with getting the student to understand who they are. Because you have to know who you are in the world.
You
And
do.
if you are not a visionary, then you need to team up with a visionary. Like understanding who you are will help you to build a supportive team to help you win. Most people just want their cousin and mom and them to work in their businesses. And they don't
Yeah.
understand their leadership style. And so therefore they're getting people who act and look just like them. And then they're failing in 3 to 5 years because the people that look like them will have a good time with them. People that think like them, act like them, same code, values, the whole thing. But you need differences on your team. Like there are 4 leadership strategies, 4 leadership styles that you need. You need a visionary. You need a learner, somebody who can dig into the research for you. You need a person that brings love, a people's person that keeps things calm and wants everybody to be happy, right? You need a doer, somebody who's going to get down in the dirt and do the work. There are people in all of those skill sets that's their primary skill set. And so if you're building a team, you need to know where you are, first of all, and then you'll know what 3 other strengths you need in order to build the people under you. Most people just start a business, and I'm going to put Mama on there, G-Mom or Nana. They're going to help me run my business. And Nana may be a leader like you, a leader, or then again, she may be a person that's a lover, which is want everybody to be happy. And you're going to need a visionary if you're going to grow. You're going to
Mhm.
need somebody who can do some research and find out what the details are if you're not that person. So just learning who you are and being truthful with yourself and just saying, what do you really need? Like, what is your strength? What is your weaknesses? The whole SWOT analysis.
Mhm.
Doing that is what you need. That's what leadership needs is you have to check and see which box you fall under, and then you have to build around it.
Mhm. And you got to also, if you're a leader, there's also a certain amount of, I hate to say cockiness, but there is a certain amount of, I say confidence,
I say boldness.
boldness. You do.
I
You
say
have to
there
be
has to
bold.
be a certain level of boldness where you go in waters uncharted, bold and
Yes.
daring.
Yes. And I hate it when people say, I'll start a business, and then they start saying, yeah, because I'm not very confident. And I'm like, baby, that's going to eat you alive.
And
You,
what they normally say is, I don't want to get in front of the camera. I don't want to be the face of the business, so they shy away from that. And I have a Money channel. He's actually teaching people how to do that, how to get over that. He was actually a newscaster, a news reporter who was camera shy. Now imagine that. And he said, I was so embarrassed. I went through a lot. So his whole story, his name is Amani, Amini, AM AMANI channel, like a channel TV. And he has a whole platform on people who are camera shy. And he helps them. So I refer people to him when they tell me about their introvertedness. And I tell them a story about introvertedness. You know, I asked them, have you met Beyonce? And, most of us know who she is. And she has created Sasha Fierce because Beyonce herself is an introvert, is an extreme introvert. But Sasha Fierce is a persona she's created in order to go get her money. And so I challenge my students, go get your money, create what you have to create. And so even if you're an introvert, you have to be able to get comfortable in your own skin and realize if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that there will be situations that you deal with that's going to make you uncomfortable. But for the sake of the business, you do them.
I asked my husband the other day, I said, you didn't know all this was going to come with me, did you? And he was
hanging in there like a champ, though.
He said, but you know what? I wanted a woman who had ambition. So to him, it was like, well, this is what I wanted. And it just makes me feel so good when I'm bouncing ideas. I'm just talking and I'm going on through it. And he is the best champion of just, what they say, it takes a woman 50,000 words to say what a man can say in 500. I'm just bouncing around all these words and trying to get it down to, analyze it. And he just says, da, 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 da. And I'm like, that's it.
And so you need that. You need that, though. Everybody needs that. You need that. Because, you talk about opposites attract, but you attract because it's a great play off one another, right? Like if you had another person that was way up there in the trees with you, then both of you would be just swinging in the trees.
We would be exhausted.
Just swinging in the trees.
Lisa, we'd be passed out. Not Lisa, Linda. Now you're my forever Lisa.
I'll be your Lisa. Today I'm Lisa.
Linda, Lord Jesus.
Yeah, Dr. Frazier, you were talking about him. One of the things he said is, if you ever want to change, then you have to make sure that you're hanging around people who are where you want to be. You need to be around people who are smarter than you and who are already there so that they can help pull you up. If you're the smartest person in the room, then you should leave the room. Absolutely. Yes. And, people, and that's not a cheap ride, right? Because you invest in yourself. I was telling someone, I've already spent like $30,000 in training since last June. And they're like, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, because know that your success will not be cheap.
The biggest stage ain't cheap, is it?
It's not cheap, girl. No, the front seats aren't, before you even get to the stage, if you want the prime seats come with a price. Every time I've ever sat front row center, I've paid a hefty price for it. So I'm used to that. And I think there's nobody better than me to invest in.
Exactly. And then even to make it practical to where people are that have been educated in this system, think about how much it costs you to become a doctor versus how much it costs you to become a secretary. And it's like nobody goes, oh my, I had to invest $30,000 or $100,000 or $250,000 to become a doctor. Nobody sweats that. And I really think that what that tells us is the bigger your impact, the bigger your outreach, you're going to invest more. It's going to call for a greater investment. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Investment in time, money, and talent. You have to get all three. It is an investment, and it's the commitment. And then you get to determine whether that return on that investment is worth it or not. If you put all you have into it and it still doesn't turn out right, then that's not on you. But if you put all you have into it and it turns out right, then you're reaping the rewards from then on, because then all you have to do is recycle, right?
That's
so
right.
It's just understanding that, and understanding that the people who are at a higher level have paid a higher price to get there. Because if somebody's handing them out, please tell me where so I can get a reimbursement. If somebody's handing it out,
Because it does.
I want to get in that line.
Hello, it costs. It costs. But at the end of the day, I would not trade anything for it because I think it's not even about the destination, it's about who you become.
Absolutely.
Your own value
because
in
a
your
mind
own eyes.
stretch. Yeah, a mind stretch never returns to its original state. And you can't unlearn that. Once your mind has been stretched and you look at possibilities, there's no way you can go back. And so your mind will never be the same again.
It'll never be.
And that's why mindset change is important.
Yes, and it's worth the investment, y'all. I know y'all want to go and make your, get your little tech thing more, and that's fine. Yeah, get your process right. Get your product right. Let it be excellence in that. But just know that alone is not going to sell. You're going to have something else to sustain you if you really feel like you're called into the world of business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a faith walk.
It's a faith
walk. And the great thing about it is God has strategically placed people on your path that's going to help you get there. So you have to have the faith in understanding that sometimes the no's do count, and you have to say the no's, but then the yeses count as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Before we end, I want you to tell our listeners what you want them to take away from our conversation.
Just like the acorn, everything that you have that you need to become a giant oak tree, it's already in you. What you go to coaching and consulting for is to help you to understand how to use it. We have everything we need in order to be successful already in us, but we need people to extract that to help us to see that so that we can see our potential. That's what we're about, and that's what this journey is about. That's why they listen to your podcast, because they know that it's in them and they need you to show it to them. Sometimes you need somebody else to shine the light on your abilities, and Suzette does that.
Linda, you are my shero. You are my shero. I'm so grateful you've allowed us to just sit under your tutelage just for a moment. I appreciate it.
God bless you. God bless you, and God bless your listeners. And may they continue to walk on the path that you are laying out before them.
You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Vernon. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough.